they're saying that the BEwell, the business and entrepreneurial well-being, the aim is not to bring 100 people on the on the webinar. If they want to come, fine. It's more about us actually making our contribution and our connections globally. So that was the whole reason why I do this. Hello, Muib. It's in line with how I see what I do. Is I'm trying to connect with people like yourself, like Ada, Muib, and make my little contribution. My contribution is I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years. In 25 years, I've seen lots of ups and downs. I've seen me focus just on the business, on the turnover, on clients, and so on. And then I've also seen myself have like physical breakdowns during these 25 years because I didn't look after myself. The energy was always on bring more. And in the end, when I had a breakdown, I didn't know why. And so the breakdown was like in 2017. And then I started actually focusing a little bit on myself. And I've understood a lot that the entrepreneur needs to do to focus on business, but also to focus on himself or herself. And so this is the contribution that I'm bringing to these workshops, to these webinars, is bringing people like Adela, the expert on business etiquette, to bring to the BEwell hub. And so she'll bring her expertise, and then we'll have an opportunity to actually go a little bit deeper, further, asking her questions, or if we have enough people, we could even go into breakout rooms. But if there's only a few of us, we'll stay here in the main room and we just interact, a very informal conversation around the topic of business etiquette. Okay, so let me introduce our guest speaker today. Our guest speaker is Adela Novac. Okay, and today's title of the webinar is Polished and Professional, Navigating Business Etiquette in Today's World. Okay, Adela Novac is a business etiquette coach and a cross-culture specialist with over 12 years spent in the aviation industry. With a master's in business and experience flying VIPs, she understands the power of good communication, as well as the value of integrity and diplomacy in today's society. Adela recognizes the existence of various intercultural differences and expectations, and as a certified member of the International Etiquette and Protocol Academy, she empowers individuals to achieve their full potential in today's ever-changing corporate world. So this is Adela Novac, and she's going to bring us some insights into the topic of business etiquette. So welcome, Adela. Yes. Thank you very much for coming and dedicating time.
Thank you for the introduction. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Hello, everyone. Indeed, my name is Adela Novac, and all the Gary statements are true. So today I thought to discuss with you some basic notions about etiquette, and to start with defining the term etiquette, and then to discuss the differences between social etiquette and business etiquette. And then we are going to deep dive into the cross-culture communication and cross-culture dynamics inside an organization. So please, if you have any questions, if you would like to add something along the way, please do. I really want for this session to be useful for you and to have more clarity in what business etiquette means. So I would like to start first with for everyone to introduce themselves with their names and maybe the country that they come from, in order, because we're going to talk about cross-culture communication, so it's an important aspect.
Okay, let me start then. So then everyone, I'm from the UK, but I live in Italy, and the cross-cultural business in the global market is very important today. I think it could be very useful. It's also very useful for my clients. I work with CEOs and company owners who do business globally. And so they need to understand how to work with someone who's in Romania, someone who's in Malaysia, because there's different cultures. And so I think it's a very important topic. today.
True, true. Thank you, Gary.
Mohib, want to introduce yourself?
Oh, I thought ladies first. Okay. My name is Mohib. I'm the happiness coach. I live in Malaysia. I'm originally from Afghanistan. That's it. So quite
thank you.
cultural, quite cross-culture myself.
True.
I've worked in the corporate life for about 15 years. Now I'm mainly coaching. I work with specialize in stress anxiety management. Yeah, to help people realize more of themselves and have a better life.
Thank you, Mohib.
Sharon?
I'm Sharon Greenlaw. I'm from Canada. I am a Graham of a boy who tells me there's no such thing as borders, that it's actually people's old-fashioned people's virtual reality. And I need to get to know more about who people really are, because we've just defined them by something that's a virtual reality construct. So it's
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you and welcome.
And I'm Ada Montano. I'm also from Romania, as Adela is. I have kind of two jobs. I'm actually a quality engineer in my day-to-day job, and also freshly entrepreneur, helping people to test their prototypes of their services. And I'm really glad to be here with all of you.
Good. Thank you, Ada. So we will start defining the term etiquette in order to understand better what etiquette means. So etiquette, or at least the definition that I like, is the rules and convention governing a correct and polite behavior in society in general, or in a particular social or professional group or situation. And we will dissect this definition in order to understand better what etiquette means. So there are the rules. The rules will tell us what we should do, what we shouldn't do, what is allowed, what is not allowed, and so on. The conventions, this is the interesting part of etiquette. The conventions, and if you think about it, it's what we convene to be the right thing to do. And this is shaped by the traditions that we have, the customs, the historical events that happened in our society, in our country, that will shape what we consider to be right or wrong, the correct and polite behavior in society. Or, and then we have the part with the environment, the particular social or professional group or situation. And here we have some examples here. For example, we will wear different clothes. We will behave in a certain way depending on the environment that we are in. So, for example, if we are in a restaurant, a fine dining restaurant, we will behave in a certain way. If we are part of a sport club, let's say, a golf club, we will have to follow those rules. Or if we are with friends, we will have to adapt our speech, we will have to adapt our behavior depending on the environment that we are in. So this is in general terms what etiquette means.
So is that sort of like, so if I find myself in a golf club, do I have to read the rules before I go there, or is this something that I should already know, or is how do I know how to act?
You will read. You will make yourself. You will make yourself research, your own research regarding that particular environment. when you are part of an organization, you will have to follow the internal rules. Every organization has an internal rules. If you are doing a sport, yeah, do you want to ask something?
No, I was just reflecting. If I go into a place where I don't know the place or the rules, how do I govern myself? How do I know how to navigate that situation?
You will have to do your research, because every kind of sport, and especially sports, have those rules. Maybe they are not posted on their website, but you will find some rules. And if you don't know the rules, maybe you can see some pictures of people going there regarding what they wear. So in terms of a dress code, you will have to follow those rules.
So if someone makes a mistake, or someone is not in line with the order of that event, let's say, that location, is that a mistake, or because they haven't researched that event, or is it that person being authentic and they just don't know?
It's really about what you are trying to, how much effort do you put in that, in that particular role or something. If it's your first time there, maybe you will do your research in order not to be underdressed. So in those terms, you can make a mistake, because you are not going to go there in dress with a suit and tie.
Has the
for example. Yeah, please, Sharon.
Has the internet its own set of rules, or is it by organization? Like, I know that there's probably some way you would speak at the United Nations, and probably you would be vetted before you'd ever be able to attend. But things like Twitter, or whatever Twitter is now, things like the kids are on open forums for things. So my age group is easily offended when I get on internet. I have easily offended people also. I have offended people, not easily even, but the idea that the internet seems to have a completely different set of rules, and there's something to do with where you're not always doing the video, a lot of it's text. Is there a lot of business going just text? Is it just, or is it like the Zoom meetings and the team meetings? Is there a different set of etiquette than there is for in-person in a building meeting?
Of course, there is a online etiquette, let's say. It is a kind of conduit that you have to follow, or certain rules that you have to follow, depending on your audience. And indeed, this gap between generations can be problematic in the sense that they are not yet like Twitter. Twitter, for example, in Romania is not so popular. TikTok is, or Instagram, and indeed the fact that there is no yet a legislation that can control and can do some rules that people will have to follow. That is something that we will see in time, maybe. It depends on because you see in China, for example, the Facebook is forbidden. So they don't have, because it's a more strict country, a communism, and it's still there, and the rules are very strict. So in terms of sharing what you want on the internet, is not a thing that they can do so easily. So it depends on the country that we are in.
So give us some sort of mistakes or errors that professionals do, just to have an idea of business etiquette, and what is correct and what is not correct? Can you give us an idea of something that we do that's not correct?
You know, in etiquette, the thing is that most of the things that we do are invisible, let's say, invisible, or we don't really know when we are making a mistake, when we don't know how to behave. For example, a mistake can be when your a boss is doing his speech on the stage, and you will in a country where hierarchical positions are really important, when you as a subordinate will say it's time to eat, so he doesn't finish his speech, but you will say, okay, you will make him a sign and it's time to, that person probably will end his speech, but you will be seen. That's an etiquette mistake. Maybe to cross over some boundaries. And in terms of business etiquette, and when we talk with going through the cultural thing, when we speak with people from other cultures, if we don't know that punctuality, for example, it's an important thing for you, but it's not an important thing for me. Maybe time for me is something, I will show you my position and my power. It's a game of power for some, the coming on time or not coming on time.
Is that business, or is that just human respect for another person's precious time too?
Not necessarily. For some cultures, where there are hierarchically, so the boss is really important, the position that they have. For example, if they are late, they will show you that they are more important than you. It's a form of, if they lose face, they will lose face if they come earlier and you will come after them. So this is business etiquette. They can come late for a business meeting only to show you that they are more powerful, or at least in their culture, that is the way they do things.
So I got a question here. Now, the world is changing very fast, yeah, with the internet, as Sharon said, and lots of digital sort of improvements, advancements. And so I asked myself, do we have to stay in this traditional etiquettes and rules and regulations, or can we move out of them? Obviously, etiquette changes. I imagine they haven't been the same for 100 years. They must have changed along the way. So my question to you, Adela, is, have you seen any changes in the etiquette that young people are doing today when they work with the older generation? You know what?
Of course, etiquette changes. It's a live organism. It's something that is alive. If we are talking about countries that have a long history, so they have long time traditions, like Middle East, like China and Japan and Far East, like they have history and they are more traditional, and they will tend to respect those traditions more than the people or the countries that are more oriented on the technology, on being modern, and so on. Of course, young people, the fact that they no longer, or at least in Romania, this happens a lot, they don't have their roots, they don't have the values, because etiquette, it's about respect. Mainly it's about respect, it's about respecting others. And you know, there is a golden rule that says, treat others the way that you would like to be treated. But in etiquette, there is a platinum rule that says that treat others exactly how they want to be treated. So to take into account that they might be different than you. They might have different conventions, they associate good with other things. So to have an open mind and to be able to adapt to the other person. And especially in today's world, when we have this multicultural and the people are traveling from all over the world. And imagine that we as individuals have our own type of culture, so that we have to adapt. Please, Sharon.
Yes, I'm on Pescatamakati territory, and traditionally, as we paid what was treaty obligations, they would have the chief show up. We'd know that he was probably going to show up one day, might show up the next. And if you wanted to have a conversation or negotiate something or whatever, you basically, it was up to you to see what you could do to almost a shake of the dice to get there at the same time, because his traditionally his travel and his appointments and his whatever his responsibilities were covered by the tides in his area. So if you travel by tide, the people that he was he had obligations to meet, which was a certain time, his elders, his mentors, and you had to be there if you wanted to fit in. And you really, there was no such thing as time, it was opportunity. And so that this idea of clocks instead of tides, instead of daylight time, instead of travel amounts, is still a very nomadic or indigenous framework for a lot of their business meetings. And it's really, I've seen clash after clash over not recognizing it. And because my family has both sides, it was very eye-opening to me to see that there was that much difference, that one side recognized their side, or each side just seemed to recognize their own etiquette, their own boundaries, and didn't realize how much they were annoying each other. Or once in a while they'd get together and work out, but it was just like they were like somebody was doing it to them instead of it being they weren't knowledgeable or exposed to compromise and didn't know it. You know.
Yeah.
I think today in this global world, this business etiquette thing is a difficult topic, really is. I mean, I live in Italy, where they put a lot of emphasis on the way you dress, food, all of that, rather than the content of the meeting. The content of the meeting is extra. It's like I worked, I remember, for this company years ago, and I was a translator, interpreter, and they had these Americans coming over, and it was a big deal because Americans were coming into town and they were put into this hotel. And I was told the next morning, Gary, you have to be there at 7:30 in the morning, dressed, and you have to be dressed like a suit and a tie because it's an important meeting. So we all got there, got ready. 8 o'clock, the Americans are still not down. We're in the meeting. No one's having breakfast because we were waiting for the Americans to come down to have breakfast together. And waiting. The Americans roll down at 8:30. Americans, okay, there's no discrimination against Americans. It just happen to be Americans. And I was dressed in a suit and a tie, and so were the other Italians. And these people walked down with shorts and slippers and a t-shirt, and I felt so overdressed. I thought, oh my God. And the guys came down, and so and they sat down, had their breakfast, and the Italians were like saying, well, should we get down to business? Like, we want to get to the business. And they were saying, come on, take it easy. Let's have breakfast. We'll look around and then we'll have the meeting. And it was so awkward, the whole situation, because I felt like out of place, because walking around with these Americans with slippers and shorts, and the Italians were like, what's the word? Like they were following, they're just saying, come on, let's get down to, let's sign a contract, do some business. And the Americans had a different agenda completely.
But
yeah.
You just gave a perfect example on what is a mistake in etiquette, because at the end of the day, they were doing business. You were meeting with them on a business, in business, for business motives. So when you are coming underdress, that's when you should feel, but your opinion on them, what was it? Seeing them in shorts.
Well, it was like, as you were saying, sometimes they seem to be underdressed, gave them sort of more power. I don't know if that's possible. It seemed like, we're here, we're the Americans, we're going to sign the deal, we can come as we want, we can do what we want, we can come whether it's 8 o'clock or 8:30, well, that's what we do. That was the impression. We were all dressed and ready for business and ready for a serious agreement, and yet we were taken around like the dog's tail.
Please,
Mohib.
So some will question, was this according to the agenda? Was this shared with them?
You mean the dress code?
No, that we will have a business breakfast, a business discussion over breakfast. Because for some, they want to have their breakfast. They don't want to talk business. They want to have breakfast. They just woke up. They're hungry. They're still waking up. They want to have their coffee. They want to have their breakfast. And then they get to business. So, and a part of, correct me if I'm wrong, a part of etiquette is also sharing things with your colleagues or your business partners who are coming from different culture. So if you're going to Japan, you will be told that, there are certain things that you don't mind. You don't go hug people, or you don't go, shake their hand. You bow, people bow to you, you bow back. You be respectful. You don't shout and yell and do things like this, because these are cultural differences that you need to mind. And this is part of etiquette, and to some, they take it so seriously that $1 million business deals can go, totally can be dropped because of such minor things, which is seen as disrespectful. So if I'm having a guest from America and I want to do a breakfast business meeting with them, it's on me to share it with them.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know if they shared or it's an information that they knew or not.
Did you have a meeting later on?
Later, not when the Italians wanted the meeting.
Yeah, later.
Exactly.
Was he in shorts?
What's that? Sorry, Mohib?
Was he still in shorts?
God, no, I can't remember now, but I remember it was like the Italians were trying to get to a business meeting, to sit down and look at the contract and get it signed and whatever. The Americans were here more on, oh, well, let's enjoy Italy, let's enjoy the city, and we'll do business. And we'll get to know you, we'll get to know. So they had a different approach that the Italians were just completely phased by, like saying, oh, well, because they hadn't got it, as you said, they hadn't maybe researched the difference.
But is it a normal? It is a normal thing for. Sorry, Adela.
Don't say your.
Is it a normal behavior, Italian behavior, to get to things like this? You
So
have someone traveling 16 hours on a flight, and the next morning he wakes up and seven people are there in a meeting asking him to sign a contract.
They make everything very formal. So the breakfast is dress code. I don't come in shorts and t-shirt. You know, it's like a sign of respect. We're business associates. We're not friends.
But
So,
is it a business meeting? Is it a business breakfast? Is it informed that we are going to have a business breakfast?
what is a business breakfast? Sorry, Adela, Mohib.
Where business is discussed.
What is a business breakfast?
Okay, okay, what? Okay, now I'm gonna get to more details. Was the place a buffet place or a place where you order things?
No, it was a hotel.
A hotel buffet.
It was a hotel.
Breakfast buffet.
They had the breakfast lounge, and so everything was there. You know, the croissants.
Yes.
So yeah.
So you do not have business breakfast in a buffet of a hotel breakfast.
Adela.
I beg to differ. I think. Oh,
But Mohib has a point that
Especially if your guest or your business partner you're intending to do business with has flown 16 hours to get to your country.
yeah, so it's really important indeed for the meeting to be settled, so to be informed beforehand. Okay, we will have a breakfast meeting in the morning. We will discuss this and this, even though it's breakfast. Some cultures do. Businesses in, I didn't thought usually, like in a general rule, the Americans, but of course not all the Americans are the same, but it is a masculine country in terms of anthropologists, yeah, and they tend to do business first. So let's get down to business. They normally discuss business at a meal or whatever. They do business first. Some cultures are more on the relationship part. Let's discuss let's have a conversation, let's form and establish a relationship, and then we can talk business. But indeed, Mohib has a point if the meeting was scheduled to be a business meeting or not. It's really important.
But isn't this what we're coming up against? Because all of a sudden, I mean, 25 years ago, that definitely would have looked like a power play on both people's parts to me. One being intimidating, you've already got you sleepy, we're going to get the business done. The other one's like, we're not going to take you seriously. You're going to have to work and to our level before we're going to negotiate with you. But now that the internet's there and this, what are the rules, and we break the rules and we're making the rules, what was that? I mean, and how can we know for sure what that was? Because they could have come a day early and had plenty of sleep, and those other people could have actually had their meeting at midday, and they could have provided information. So we're really, the idea that what is the best practices, I think, is what I would like to get. Like, what are the best practices so that you're authentic? How can we present our authenticity in having these meetings so that the meetings are actually the best thing in a win-win situation? Because if we don't start getting to win-wins, we are still in such turmoil in this. If it's all about chasing the money instead of chasing the win, and the win is for both people, if we don't have business etiquette, what we have is a mess of selfish people getting together to make the best deal for themselves. And we can't continue to do that anymore. This is our kids' world. We've already made a mess for this many generations. What is the best etiquette for win-win situations and authentic? Oh, I can't even say the word.
Authenticity.
Authenticity.
Yeah.
Great question. Okay, Adela, you got the question there. There you are. What's the best practice?
Yeah, Sharon, it is a great question. the answer is we will have to adapt, and each situation is different. Like, for example, Gary's situation. What were the terms? And if we look closer to that business deal or potential business deal, because first we will have to know if the business meeting was settled beforehand or not, if they were in charge of they were like doing Italy, let's say, a favor in coming to Italy to do business there. So it really depends, because even coming in shorts and treating the other person like that, so it really depends. It really depends. So you tell me, Gary, it was a meeting that you settled, you thought about it beforehand?
Well, I was just the third party, because I was just the interpreter from the Americans and the
Okay.
Italians. But this is what I observed. I observed this whole situation like this, and it made me reflect that Italians do put a lot of focus, a lot of attention on the food, on the environment, on the dress code, and that kind of etiquette, rather than the content. Whereas Americans in that situation didn't pay any attention to all of that around, like the dress code or the punctuality or whatever. They were just like, okay, yeah, we're here, we'll do business, we're here, we'll do it. But there was no sort of, but my question is, does business etiquette mean that the other party has to be informed of everything beforehand, or is it something that we have to prepare for the unexpected?
Both things. We will have to be informed, and there are some cultures that will need in writing what it will be discussed in that particular, or they will have to have the contract beforehand. This is the cross-culture difficulty, or the thing that we have to be aware of. There are so many things that we need to be aware of, and that's why it's not one true and single answer, the best answer in terms of etiquette. Etiquette is something, it's about respect. It's about respecting other, and you will have to know the other person in order to respect him.
You know, as we are coaches, Sharon is a coach, Mohib is a coach, I'm a coach. Ada, I don't know if you're coaching or what you're doing, but now with Zoom and the digitalization, we have this open window. We can work globally. And so we might find ourselves working with someone in India, or someone in Alaska, or I don't know, all over the world. There are no limits apart from the time, obviously, the various time zones. So my question is, how do we approach a client like this, someone who contacts us as coaches and business or life or happiness coach, and say, okay, I want to book a session. So how do we prepare for that session from a business etiquette point of view?
Yeah, so first of all, we will have to do the research about that culture. So from which country is that person? In order to understand him and the way he thinks, the way he do things, what is acceptable for him in his society, and so on. Because, in order to understand business etiquette, you will have to understand social etiquette. And social etiquette, the main difference between social and business etiquette is the fact that business etiquette is gender neutral, or at least it should be gender neutral. But for the countries that are more patriarchal, where the man has an important role, because in business etiquette, the host will take the role of the man, and the guest will take the role of the woman from the social etiquette. So, like for the Americans, they have ladies first. And when you think about that, you will know that the client, the person that is lower in rank, it will enter first in a building, let's say. It will have precedence. So the answer to your question will be to do the self-research, to do the research for that person, to understand it better. Of course, if he's a person that has done, like Mohib here, yeah, he was born in Afghanistan, but he's living in Malaysia. Yeah, so it's a mix there. Of course, our study, if I study in London, I will have a sort of influence for I don't know, 5 years of my life being in contact with the British people. So everything has an impact on us.
So,
I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, no, you answer the question. I'm just trying to understand, because this is our reality nowadays as coaches, that we could have clients, global clients from around the world. So my question is there a global etiquette that we can just follow? Global, I don't know.
Yes, Mohib, I will answer.
Honesty, transparency, and respect. That's it. Be polite, be respectful, regardless of who's coming from where. Be clear on the expectations. Be open about what you're expecting, and put things in writing. Don't leave things to assumption. That's what I do. I work with clients from all over the world, and for me, this is what I do. I'm open, I'm respectful, and I'm very clear and honest about what they're getting into and what they should expect. If they have a problem with it, I allow them to, raise it up front.
I think this is so good, because I think coming into this arena, which is completely borderless, like the kids say, there is no borders. The idea that etiquette somewhere is insulting somewhere else, or insulting somewhere else's etiquette, I believe it has actually maybe given a gift to business. The idea that these barriers were barriers, and we're just the frilling paper of what actually was what we really need to get down to. And if we can find that, what the business is, then, but are we building a new etiquette? Are we building a new, or are we still so old that we're still hanging on for dear life to the world that we're not even going to live in a few more, like I'm 66, so I'm not going to be living in the world as my etiquette, hanging on to etiquette, actually letting go of the pursuit for the honesty, the win-win, the different type of looking at what we can be, our each other's potential. And could the new etiquette that we're building, or that these kids are building, be actually the better etiquette? Like, if you want to go scream each other, there's an area for screaming. If you want to take on, and somebody else maybe be open to know that you are going to be insulted, because there's that opportunity. But if you want to just have a few people who are just for yourself, then I don't think you can actually meet on an international level with no borders, without actually exposing your intention, and in the intention, what business deal is good for anybody if it isn't a win-win. So maybe we're evolving, or we have the opportunity to evolve to have another type of etiquette. And maybe if we're patient with the kids and not offended by our clothing borders, our etiquette borders, then we can build better borders somehow. Like, and you still have your screaming, you still have your shysters on one side, but you could actually have a place that you meet for the win-win. And maybe that business area, that open business place would be where people would actually say, if I'm going to be honest and authentic, this is the area in, where I'm going to, hopefully, the internet. And I know Twitter's trying to do that or whatever that is. I guess it's X now, but anyway, and it is chaos right now. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how the kids are going to work this, but we're really leaving it. At least we're questioning ourselves, which in my time, my father would never have questioned him how he did things. Whatever we did, whatever clothing we wore, it was the wrong thing. We were not, and it cut the potential of so many people, and actually the kindness, because they were so resentful. I did things defiantly because I wasn't allowed to do things givingly or authentically.
I think times have changed, Sharon. Now times are changing. So going back to our business etiquette. Let me. We got 10 minutes. So the question is how to handle. I've got a question for you, Adela. How do I handle a difficult situation but maintain the etiquette?
So, but you are talking about people from your own country or people from other countries?
From my own country, from someone in Romania.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that Italy is doing business with Romania, and we have a difficult situation, but I want to maintain the etiquette. I want to maintain the right.
So you will have to do the research about Romanians, but we are quite similar in terms of culture. That's why we integrated so easily in Italy. But first you will have, to do the research, then to actively listen to the person that you have in front of you, to make sure that you don't have unconscious biases. So to be present there, to see if the other person has changed. So you need to notice his body language. Yeah. So
give us an example of body language.
Body language, like from his face. Maybe you will see that something disturbed the other person in certain way. So it made me angry. Something that you say made me angry, and I don't know. I cross my arms. I cross my arms, and I become very serious. And I look like angry at you. You will have to see what was happening there with me. If I understood something wrong, maybe I understand respect differently, or a certain way differently than you will understand it. And we will have to adjust, each one of you. So in order for us to have a good communication, we will have to make sure we speak a common language. And this is, I think, the universal rule, like for etiquette, to make sure that we speak the common language.
You know what? I was just thinking, as Sharon pointed out, we talk about internet, and now most of our meetings now, especially across the globe, it's difficult for me. If I have a meeting to go to China, I try and have a meeting online first. And then me personally, but also the clients I have are CEOs and top, sort of managers who, I've got a person who works in Chicago. He goes up and down from Italy to Chicago, up and down. But a lot of the meetings are online. And so my question is, what is the etiquette for online business? We're talking about punctuality. We're talking about dress code. We're talking about eating, drinking, having a shave for a man, having your hair right or not right, or I don't know. Is there any etiquette, or do we just open the computer and just let's go for it?
I will answer your question with another question. What is the image that you would like to have in front of those people? So it's really about you. And if you have a business meeting, then the business etiquette will be dress accordingly, speak accordingly with your purposes, what you are trying to, because if I would come here, I don't know, with my hair put up and dressed in whatever I would choose from my, but it's a sign of respect that I'm here in front of you, dressed in a certain way, that I speak in a certain way. So this is my respect that I give for you. So it is, and in terms, because you said in terms of punctuality, of course, and some cultures are really drawn to punctuality, are more punctual than others. So you will have to take that in.
Would you say that now with the digitalization age, that punctuality is more important because the meetings are set at 9 to 10, or if it's a Zoom call, whereas before we were talking people's, in older traditions, it's a 9 o'clock meeting, but the guy rolls in at 9:30, etc. Online, is there more control? Is there more attention?
It is control, but as far as I saw, the host, it is at 9 sharp, at the sharp when the meeting is scheduled, but the participants might be 5, 10, 15 minutes late. So it is somehow controlled, but it's not.
So how do we show our disapproval of something like this? I mean, if I have a meeting at 9 o'clock, from 9 to 10, or 9 o'clock is a meeting, no one shows up, the person rolls up at 10 past 9 or 9:15. What is the right?
But it really depends on the relationship you have with those persons, because if they are part of your team and you are the manager, you will have a different approach, or you'll say something different than like us being late for this seminar. Maybe if I were a participant, maybe I could afford, let's say, to come 5 minutes late. I will not be 5 minutes late because I appreciate punctuality, but if I don't appreciate punctuality, the punctuality is not a value for me, I will be 5 minutes late, and you will not. I don't think you will say something, because it's not a mandatory meeting.
I don't know if someone else wants to make a comment on this, because I don't know if I agree with what Adela says. Ada, do you want to make a comment on that? Like, if you arrive late for a meeting, that's not important, are you saying? It's accepted, or is it a reflection of you, Ada, if you arrive late or you arrive not dressed suitably for the meeting and so on? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think I will be a bit biased by the same culture, because I'm also Romanian, and I do dress accordingly to the people I'm meeting and accordingly to the image I want to impose. So I usually, even at work meetings, I come 1-2 minutes earlier, because I want to be there on time, either if I have to speak or if I have just to listen to the other people. I will also dress accordingly. So I'm not in my pajamas or something. I'll put a bit of lipstick on, just because it's my way of respecting myself as well as respecting the people in front of me. So I might be a bit biased also by this cultural thing, because we live in the same area. But in the end, it's a form of respect for myself and for the others.
Yeah, I think so, because now we're actually building our online reputation, or online profile. And so whether we are in a meeting like this, or whether we have a meeting or working, coaching or meetings or whatever it is, we are building this curriculum, let's say. And people like yourselves, you have never seen me face to face. You're only seeing, I remember Mohib saying to me once, years ago, maybe a couple of years ago, say, Gary, do you always wear a shirt? And I am today, as it happens, but it's not something that I do all the time. Obviously, it was like unconsciously I had a shirt, but today also because I've been at work, and so I have a shirt. But in maybe in another meeting, I'll probably have a t-shirt or a sweatshirt or something like that. But we are seen through the screen, and so how we address, whether we're late, how we, the language we use, and so on. We are being profiled. I don't want to say judged, but we're being profiled.
Yeah, so it depends on the image that we want to show. If I'm 5 minutes late, that will say something about me.
Yeah.
Everything is saying something about us. Yes, Mohib.
Yeah.
So, and when our meeting started, after a few minutes, I'm like, I'm underdressed. Look at Gary, everybody's dressed nicely, the hair is done, I'm unshaved, wearing a t-shirt and eating my chips. What does this say about me?
Oh, let's ask Adela, what does this say about him? Come on, let's just...
Yes, that will say that you are so I will analyze everything that I see. Okay,
Oh,
so
wow.
Mohib, I feel that you are a very relaxed person. The fact that I saw that you are the happiness coach, that was the first thing that I knew about you. The fact that you are relaxed, but you also value the knowledge, having the knowledge, because you have those books behind you, even though they're in background. Yeah, so
Ada is leaving.
Yeah, I have to go. I'm sorry.
Okay, Ada, thank you for coming. Listen, we try to finish on time. I like to finish these on time. So Ada, thank you for coming anyway.
Thank you.
Let's
thank you, Adela. Thank you.
Are you going as well, Mohib?
No. I was just thanking her for the analyzing she was doing.
just the last question to Adela before she goes as well, so we can close up on time, because we've all had a long day, I'm sure. Any suggestions on anything that we can read, anything we can listen to, any podcasts or something that could give us some information about cross-cultural etiquette? Whether you can give us something now, or you can send it to us, send it to me, and I can forward it on to the...
I could send to you the book, because I have a really nice book, Riding the Waves of Culture.
Okay.
And
all right, I tell you what,
I have another one, but
maybe you can give me this information in the chat, or later on you can send me an email. I'll put this on the LinkedIn, thanking everyone, and I'll also put the names of the books or podcasts or YouTube videos we can watch, just to give us an idea on how to manage cross-cultural etiquette, let's call it.
Yes, and when you asked me those questions regarding, and all of you, the fact that we didn't touch the cross-culture, because it's a really big subject, and it has a lot of branches that we have to explore. Yeah.
And I think also having someone like Sharon from Canada, Mohib from Afghanistan, Malaysia, UK, Italy, Ada, I think the more, we're a global community. And so when we start talking about cross-cultural etiquette or awareness, this is a topic that we as coaches, global coaches, we need to know. We really need to know if we're going to start working online across the globe. So interesting topic. Thank you very much, Adela Novac, for coming and talking to us about this. Participation of Mohib, Sharon, Ada. Next week, we're going to be talking to someone called Jan Jeremiah, if I remember her name correctly. And she's going to be talking about the emotional and physical and health benefits of having a pet.
Okay.
So it's a different topic. So this is what we're going to talk about again. It's about mental wellness, business wellness, and so this is what we're going to be talking about. And so if you see this on your feed on LinkedIn or whatever, share it with your community, and let's try and bring a few more people here. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary.
And
Thank you,
thank you
Adela.
for being
Thank
my
you,
guest
Sharon.
today.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Sharon. Bye. Bye.